Madagascar. An island adrift in the Indian Ocean. A place where time seems to move differently, and nature writes its own rules. Separated from Africa nearly 90 million years ago, Madagascar has lived in isolation longer than almost any other land on Earth. This solitude turned it into a vast experiment in evolution, a world where creatures found nowhere else have flourished. From the tiniest mouse lemur, no larger than a human hand, to the towering baobabs that rise like ancient guardians, Madagascar is a stage where life has taken extraordinary forms. Its landscapes are just as strange and striking. In the east, rainforests hang heavy with mist and the sound of hidden rivers. To the west, dry forests turn golden under the setting sun. And in the south, alien deserts bristle with spiny plants that look as though they belong on another planet. But Madagascar is not just a land of wilderness. It is also home to people with one of the most unusual heritages on Earth. Join us as we journey through vast rainforests and ancient highlands, across red soils shaped by time and wind, to uncover the story of an island that has evolved in isolation for millions of years. This is The Unseen Madagascar. I am Robert Beckham, and you are watching Earth Wonders. Madagascar is not just an island. It is a fragment of deep time. Separated from Africa around 88 million years ago, this land has lived in isolation ever since. That single act of separation set Madagascar on a path unlike any other, turning it into a natural world apart. Beneath its forests, grasslands, and cities lies a foundation of some of the oldest rock on Earth. Much of the island is built on crystalline basement rocks, granites, and gneisses that formed nearly 3 billion years ago. These ancient stones are exposed in the central highlands, where they appear as rugged ridges and rolling hills, worn smooth by erosion, but still immense in their scale. From the air, the highlands spread like a sea of red and green, the soils glowing with iron-rich color, cut through by winding rivers. These rocks are not just a foundation, they are a record of a world long vanished, preserved in stone. Even after the island drifted away from Africa, its surface was reshaped again and again. Volcanic activity left behind peaks and craters that still dominate the landscape. In the north, the Tsar-Tanana Massif rises to nearly 2,900 meters, the highest point in Madagascar. Its sharp ridges and mist-wrapped slopes are the weathered remains of ancient volcanic activity. In the central highlands, volcanic fields like those around Italy hold dozens of small craters, some filled with perfect blue lakes. Lake Tretriva, almost circular and surrounded by cliffs, is one such crater, a mirror of water that sits where fire once raged. Hot springs across the island still whisper of the heat below. In some regions, geothermal vents warm pools and soils, providing evidence that though Madagascar's volcanoes are mostly quiet today, the island remains geologically alive. These features are not dramatic in scale, but they are reminders of the deep forces that shape the land. Water, too, has carved Madagascar. The island is rich in rivers, each cutting a unique path from the highlands to the sea. The Betsiboka River in the northwest is among the most striking. Seen from above, its delta fans into the ocean in waves of red and orange, colored by sediment carried from the highlands. This vibrant display is not just beautiful, it is proof of how erosion has sculpted the land, carrying Madagascar's soil out to sea. Further south, the Mangoki River winds for more than 800 kilometers, the longest on the island. Lakes add to this watery story. Beyond volcanic craters, there are highland lakes fed by rivers and rainfall, such as Lake Alaotra, the largest in Madagascar. It is a shallow expanse surrounded by wetlands and rice fields, an inland sea that sustains both wildlife and people. Lakes like this capture the balance between geology, water, and human life, a landscape born in deep time but lived in daily. The island's climate is another architect. To the east, the trade winds sweep in from the Indian Ocean, carrying clouds that strike the highlands and release torrents of rain. These downpours carve valleys and feed dense rainforests that cling to the slopes. Waterfalls plunge from cliffs, rivers cut canyons, and mist hangs in the canopy. In contrast, the western side of Madagascar lies in a rain shadow. Here, the land is drier, the forests more open, and the rivers seasonal. From above, the difference is striking. The east drenched in green, the west golden and sparse. In the far south, the rains fail almost entirely. Deserts spread across the horizon, broken only by spiny plants and strange succulents that seem to defy the dry air. Each region of Madagascar carries its own rhythm of water and drought, but together they form a mosaic of extremes, all on a single island. The coastline tells its own part of the story. Madagascar stretches more than 4,800 kilometers around, and every stretch is different. In the east, long beaches meet the open Indian Ocean, battered by waves and cyclones. In the west, mangroves creep along calmer shores, their roots clutching the mud. Offshore, coral reefs glow in shades of turquoise and gold, visible even from satellites as bright rings in the sea. These reefs, nourished by warm currents, shelter countless species and form one of the richest marine zones in the Indian Ocean. Ocean currents shape life here as much as the land. The South Equatorial Current sweeps from east to west, driving moisture onto the island's eastern face. In the south, the Mozambique Channel funnels cooler waters northward, mixing with the warmth of the tropics. These currents guide migrations of humpback whales, which pass Madagascar each year to breed and calve. Their presence, visible from the surface as breaches and spouts, ties the island to the wider rhythms of the ocean. Storms are another sculptor. Each cyclone season, powerful winds sweep in from the Indian Ocean, bringing destruction, but also renewal. These storms topple trees, flood rivers, and reshape coastlines. But they also feed the island's ecology, redistributing nutrients, creating new habitats, and ensuring that water cycles continue. Taken together, all these features, the ancient rocks, volcanic remnants, rivers, deltas, coasts, reefs, and storms, explain why Madagascar looks the way it does. It is not simply an island adrift. It is a land built by deep time, by fire and water, by winds and waves. Every valley is a scar of erosion, every crater a memory of fire, every delta a signature of rivers carrying the island to the sea. Madagascar is often described as a microcontinent, and from above, it is easy to see why. Unlike volcanic islands that rise new from the sea, Madagascar carries the weight of ancient history. Its landscapes are vast and diverse, its geology as old as the continents themselves. This is not a fragment of recent birth, but a survivor of Earth's earliest transformations. In its red soils, its fractured highlands, its shifting rivers, we can still read the story of separation from Africa. Not in textbooks or diagrams, but in the land itself. In the cliffs, the craters, the deltas, and the reefs. Every feature is a chapter in the story of an island born from division, but destined for uniqueness. Madagascar is both ancient and alive, a land shaped by forces we can still see today, forces that continue to write its story with each passing season. Madagascar is often called the eighth continent, not because of its size, though it is vast, larger than France and almost as big as Texas, but because of the extraordinary world of life it contains. When the island split from Africa millions of years ago, it carried with it only a small selection of plants and animals. Cut off from the rest of the world, they evolved in complete isolation. The result is a biological treasure found nowhere else on Earth. Scientists estimate that over 90% of Madagascar's species are endemic. They exist only here. Nowhere else can you find such a high concentration of unique life, from the canopy of the forests to the reefs of the sea. For biologists, it is a living laboratory. For storytellers, it is a wonderland. Of all Madagascar's creatures, none are more iconic than the lemurs. These primates arrived long ago, possibly by rafting across from Africa on mats of vegetation. At the time, the channel was narrower, and currents may have carried them across. Once here, with no monkeys or apes to compete with, lemurs took over the forests. Today, there are more than 100 species of lemurs, ranging from the tiny mouse lemur, which can sit in the palm of a hand, to the indri, whose haunting calls echo through the eastern rainforests. Some, like the sophakas, leap sideways through the grass with acrobatic grace, their white coats flashing against the green. Others, like the ring-tailed lemur, live in social groups that gather in the spiny deserts of the south. Lemurs are not just diverse in size, but in behavior. Some are nocturnal, their huge eyes shining in the dark. Others are diurnal, sunbathing in groups at dawn with arms stretched wide. Their adaptations reflect the varied environments of Madagascar: rainforests, dry forests, deserts, and highlands. Each species fills a niche, evidence of millions of years of evolution in isolation. If lemurs are Madagascar's best-known mammals, chameleons are its most famous reptiles. Around half the world's chameleon species live here. Some are tiny. Others are giants, stretching over half a meter in length, their scales shimmering in shifting colors. Chameleons are perfectly adapted for Madagascar's forests. Their independently moving eyes scan for insects, their curled tails grip branches, and their tongues, longer than their bodies, strike prey with lightning speed. Their colors shift with mood and environment, a living display of camouflage and communication. Other reptiles add to the spectacle. Leaf-tailed geckos disappear into bark with perfect mimicry. Brightly patterned day geckos dash across branches, glowing emerald and sapphire. Tortoises graze in the dry forests, while snakes, most non-venomous, wind silently through the undergrowth. For aerial footage, the habitats themselves are the canvas, each holding species found nowhere else. Madagascar's skies and branches hold their own wonders. The island is home to more than 280 bird species, with over half unique to the island. The vongas, a family of birds found only here, showcase evolution in miniature, some with sharp hooked beaks, others with long probes, each specialized for a different food source. The blue kua, shimmering like the ocean, and the Malagasy kingfisher, flashing over rivers, add bursts of color to the canopy. Insects, too, reveal Madagascar's uniqueness. Giant comet moths with tails longer than a human hand flutter through the forests at night. Butterflies shimmer in brilliant patterns. Leaf insects and stick insects blur perfectly into their surroundings. Even ants show remarkable diversity. The island is home to leafcutter ants that build massive underground cities, and unique species that live only in certain regions. These creatures may be small, but together they weave the fabric of life in Madagascar's ecosystems. Madagascar's plants are as extraordinary as its animals. The island is home to 6 of the world's 8 species of Baobab trees. Towering with swollen trunks, they can live for more than 1,000 years. Some grow in groves, like the famous Avenue of the Baobabs, where massive trunks line a dirt road, rising into the sky like ancient pillars. From the air, they look almost unreal, giant shapes scattered across the flat plains. In the rainforests, orchids cling to branches, ferns unfurl in the mist, and pandanus trees line the rivers. Nearly 90% of the island's plant species are found nowhere else. To walk through a forest here is to step into a botanical laboratory, a place where plants have evolved without outside competition for millions of years. The question is why? Why does Madagascar hold so many unique forms of life? The answer lies in isolation. Once the island split from Africa, its plants and animals were trapped, evolving without influence from the outside world. Geography played its part. The Central Highlands act as a barrier separating east from west. Rainforests, dry forests, and deserts force species to adapt in different ways. Over time, one species split into many, each suited to its environment. Madagascar has been called a natural laboratory of evolution. The Galapagos Islands are often compared, but Madagascar is larger, older, and more varied. From the smallest mouse lemur to the tallest baobab, from the tiniest chameleon to the soaring comet moth, Madagascar is a living arc of evolution. Its creatures are not just rare curiosities. They are living evidence of Earth's power to create diversity when life is given time and solitude. This island is more than a place. It is an experiment that has run for nearly 90 million years, uninterrupted. Madagascar is often called the Green Island, but to call it simply green would miss its complexity. Its forests are not one, but many, each shaped by climate, soil, and geography, each holding its own world of plants and animals. The east coast of Madagascar is a wall of green. Here, warm trade winds from the Indian Ocean rise against the Central Highlands, dropping their moisture as near constant rain. The result is one of the densest belts of rainforest in the world. These forests stretch for nearly 1,600 kilometers along the island's spine. In places like Masewala and Ranamafana, the canopy towers high, draped in vines and thick with orchids. Mist rolls across the treetops at dawn, while rivers crash down in silver cascades, carving deep valleys. From the air, the eastern forest appears endless, a carpet of green broken only by glinting rivers and occasional ridges of red rock. Life here thrives in layers. In the canopy, Indri lemurs call in haunting voices, their cries echoing for miles. In the understory, frogs as small as a fingertip cling to leaves, their colors bright as jewels. In the shadows of the forest floor, tenrecs, tiny insectivores found only in Madagascar, scurry through the leaf litter. Aerial footage of valleys cut by rivers shows the scale of this green world. But the rainforest is not uniform. Elevation changes everything. At higher altitudes, cloud forests cling to the slopes, cooler and wetter, draped in moss and lichens. Here, rare species like the golden bamboo lemur survive in small pockets. At lower altitudes, swamp forests spread across plains, where crocodiles lurk and wetlands feed countless species of birds. Travel west across the highlands, and the transformation is sudden. The rains weaken, the skies clear, and the forests grow thinner. This is the land of Madagascar's dry, deciduous forests. These forests are seasonal. For half the year, they are lush and green. For the other half, the trees drop their leaves, standing bare against the dusty ground. From above, This change is dramatic, the forest shifting from a canopy of green to a skeleton of pale branches. It is a strategy for survival, conserving water during the long dry season. The dry forests are home to creatures adapted to this rhythm. Varro's sifaka lemurs move gracefully between trees, their white coats flashing in the sun. Fosses, sleek predators unique to Madagascar, prowl in search of prey. The soil here glows orange and red, and termite mounds rise like miniature towers across the landscape. The dry forests offer striking contrasts: golden light filtering through leafless branches, red earth stretching beyond the trees, and rivers reduced to thin silver threads. In the far south, rainfall almost vanishes. What remains is an ecosystem that looks more like science fiction than natural history: the spiny forests. Ring-tailed lemurs thrive here, moving across the open ground in social troops. Among these forests lie some of Madagascar's most iconic landmarks. The Tsingy de Bemaraha, a vast stone forest of sharp limestone pinnacles, rises in the west. From the ground, the Tsingy is a maze of razor-edged rock. From the sky, it is a jagged sea of stone, with green forest filling the valleys between. This ecosystem is among the most distinctive in the world. More than 95% of the plants here are found nowhere else. The spiny forests are fragile but visually unforgettable, a reminder of how life adapts to extremes. Baobabs are not only natural wonders but also cultural symbols. Local communities regard them as sacred, tied to ancestors and traditions. Their presence connects the ecological and the human, towering above the land as living monuments. Madagascar's forests do more than house species. They regulate water, stabilize soil, and shape the very character of the island. From above, the island's forests appear as veins of life across a vast land. Strip them away, and rivers would dry, soils would erode, and species would vanish. Keep them, and Madagascar remains the living ark it has always been. Madagascar's forests are not one story, but many. Each ecosystem, rainforest, dry forest, spiny desert, baobab grove, is a chapter. Together, they form a book of life written over millions of years. They are forests of wonder, a living tapestry woven by time, climate, and isolation. And they are what make Madagascar unlike any other place on Earth. Madagascar is more than a natural wonder. It is also home to a people and a culture found nowhere else on Earth. Just as the island's animals evolved in isolation, so too did its human story, shaped by journeys across oceans, by mixing of distant roots, and by a deep connection to the land itself. Archaeologists believe Madagascar was first settled around 1,500 to 2,000 years ago, remarkably recent in human history. What makes this settlement extraordinary is who the first people were. They did not come from nearby Africa, but from thousands of kilometers away, across the Indian Ocean. Seafarers from Southeast Asia, the Austronesians, crossed the sea in outrigger canoes, carrying with them rice, bananas, coconuts, and their own traditions. Their language, their crops, and their navigation skills all took root in Madagascar. Later, African migrants arrived from the mainland, bringing cattle, iron tools, and new cultural practices. Over time, the two groups merged, forming a culture unlike any other, part Asian, part African, and entirely Malagasy. Drone footage of Madagascar's coasts, dotted with fishing canoes, mirrors this history. These shores were once the first landing places of voyagers who brought a new world of ideas to the island. Today, Madagascar is home to more than 29 million people, divided into around 18 major ethnic groups, but united by a common language, Malagasy. This language is closely related to those spoken in Borneo and other islands of Southeast Asia, proof of the Austronesian roots that still echo through the island's identity. Across the island, landscapes shape lifestyles. In the highlands, terraced rice paddies dominate the valleys, their geometric patterns glimmering in the sun. Families work the fields by hand, planting and harvesting rice as their ancestors did centuries ago. Along the coasts, fishing villages rely on the sea, launching wooden canoes into the surf each morning. In the drier west and south, cattle herding is central, with zebu, humped oxen, serving as both food and cultural wealth. From the air, these human landscapes are striking. Among the many symbols of Madagascar, none are more important than the zebu. These humped cattle, introduced from Africa more than 1,000 years ago, are central to Malagasy life. They are used for plowing, for meat, and as dowries in marriage. But their importance goes deeper. They are sacred animals, tied to rituals of ancestry and tradition. During ceremonies, zebus are often sacrificed, their horns kept as markers of family history. In many villages, the entrance to a home is decorated with zebu skulls, each one a reminder of ceremonies past and ancestors honored. From above, markets filled with cattle, or herds moving across the plains, show how deeply these animals are woven into daily and spiritual life. Rice is another cornerstone of Malagasy identity. Introduced by the first Austronesian settlers, it is now the staple food of nearly every meal. Fields cover the highlands in intricate terraces, reflecting the sun in countless mirrors of water. Planting and harvest are communal events, tied not just to survival, but to culture itself. Markets are another lens into daily life. In cities like Antananarivo, stalls overflow with fruits, spices, textiles, and crafts. Vanilla, one of Madagascar's most famous exports, fills sacks with its fragrant pods, destined for kitchens around the world. Perhaps the most defining feature of Malagasy culture is the deep respect for ancestors. Madagascar is not only villages and traditions. Cities like Antananarivo, with more than 1 million people, blend colonial history with modern growth. Streets bustle with traffic, markets, and the hum of daily commerce. Yet, even in the capital, rice paddies spread just beyond the neighborhoods, showing how close the city remains to the land. Coastal cities like Toamasina thrive on trade, with ports connecting Madagascar to the wider Indian Ocean. In the south, towns like Toliara blend fishing life with growing modern economies. Drone shots of these cities, red-roofed houses on highland hills, or harbors filled with ships show Madagascar's place in both tradition and modernity. What makes Malagasy culture extraordinary is its blend. Few places combine influences from Asia and Africa so completely. In language, in food, in rituals, in music, this dual heritage is visible everywhere. Yet, out of these threads, the Malagasy people have woven something entirely new, an identity as unique as the island itself. Just as Madagascar's lemurs and baobabs exist nowhere else, so too does its culture. It is a living proof that human societies, like ecosystems, evolve uniquely when given isolation, time, and connection to their land. From rice terraces to cattle herds, from ancestor tombs to bustling markets, Madagascar's people are as much a wonder as its forests and wildlife. They are the human face of the Red Island, resilient, diverse, and deeply tied to the soil and sea that sustain them. Madagascar is not only a land of forests and wildlife. It is also shaped by water and stone, by rivers that cut across its valleys, by mountains of rock that rise like fortresses, and by seas rich with coral and whales. To understand the island, we must follow its waterways inland, climb its stone forests, and dive into the reefs that ring its shores. Madagascar's rivers begin high in the central plateau and race toward the sea, carrying with them the red earth that gives the island its name, the Red Island. The Betsiboka River in the northwest is perhaps the most famous. Its waters run brick red with sediment, especially after heavy rains. From the air, its delta fans into the ocean in waves of orange and crimson, a living painting seen from satellites as clearly as from drones. This river is more than a channel. It is a conveyor of soil, eroded from the highlands and carried to the coast. To the south, the Mangoki River winds for more than 800 kilometers, the longest in Madagascar. It meanders through plains and forests, its channels splitting and rejoining like braided silver threads. The Mangoki supports vast floodplains where communities farm rice and maize, and where wildlife gathers along its banks. Aerial footage reveals its endless curves, shimmering under the sun. Madagascar is also home to lakes, each with its own character. Lake Alaotra, the island's largest, is a shallow inland sea surrounded by wetlands. From above, it gleams like a mirror, bordered by rice fields and fishing villages. Alaotra is critical to both people and wildlife, including rare birds like the endangered Alaotra grebe, found nowhere else. In the highlands, crater lakes such as Tortriva and Itasi recall the island's volcanic past. Perfectly round, with steep sides and deep blue waters, they are striking from the air, like gems set into the red plateau. Madagascar's rivers flow outward into a coastline that stretches nearly 5,000 kilometers, and every part of that coast is different. The east faces the open Indian Ocean. Here, waves pound beaches of golden sand, and cyclones strike each year, reshaping dunes and lagoons. The aerial view shows endless surf lines, breaking against shorelines fringed with palms. The west, by contrast, lies in the sheltered Mozambique Channel. Here, the seas are calmer, and mangrove forests spread their roots into tidal mud. These mangroves form nurseries for fish and protect the coast from storms. From above, their dark green canopies stand out against the pale sands and turquoise waters. Scattered along the coast are offshore islands, Nosy Be, Sainte Marie, and dozens of smaller islands. Each one carries its own coral reefs, beaches, and fishing villages. For visuals, they are perfect. Palm-lined beaches, canoes in the shallows, and reefs glowing beneath the surface. Madagascar is ringed by coral reefs, among the most diverse in the Indian Ocean. These reefs support more than 300 species of coral and thousands of species of fish. Underwater footage reveals parrotfish, angelfish, and reef sharks weaving through coral gardens. From the air, the reefs appear as bright turquoise rings, visible even in satellite imagery. The reefs are not only beautiful, but vital. They protect the coast from erosion, provide food for communities, and shelter creatures from the smallest crustacean to the largest whale. Each year, humpback whales migrate along Madagascar's coasts. From June to September, they arrive from the cold southern oceans to breed and give birth in warmer waters. Their breaches and songs fill the sea, a spectacle captured from boats and drones alike. On the island of Sainte Marie, locals celebrate their arrival with festivals, recognizing the whales as both natural wonders and symbols of the sea's bounty. Sea turtles also visit Madagascar's beaches to lay their eggs. Green turtles, hawksbills, and loggerheads crawl ashore at night, digging nests in the sand. Further offshore, currents bring larger predators, tuna, swordfish, and sometimes even whale sharks. The seas around Madagascar are as rich as its forests, another frontier of life shaped by isolation and time. Madagascar's rivers, rocks, and reefs are not separate stories. They are connected threads in the fabric of the island. Rivers carry soil from the highlands, building deltas and feeding mangroves. Stone formations like the Tsingy capture rain, channeling it into underground rivers and caves. Reefs, fed by nutrients washed from land, in turn protect the coasts from the sea's force. From above, this connection is clear. The red rivers fan into the ocean, staining the water. The reefs glow just beyond, forming natural barriers. Inland, the stone forests rise, catching the same rains that feed the rivers. It is a cycle, stone to water, land to sea, that sustains Madagascar's uniqueness. Few places hold such extremes in such close reach. One moment, the roar of a waterfall in a rainforest gorge. The next, the silence of a limestone labyrinth. These contrasts are what make Madagascar whole. Madagascar is not just a place to see. It is a reminder of what isolation can create and what the world would lose if such places disappeared. If you enjoyed this video, journey next to Iceland, a land of fire and ice, where volcanoes breathe beneath glaciers and nature rewrites the rules of survival. By clicking here, you can watch the video, and I promise you, it's even more breathtaking.